Behold, it's Natalia. Let's go find some monkeys, shall we?
Would you say sex is like riding a bicycle?
Nothing gets me going like Christmas and wigs. Let's check out this show.
I remember the first creature I beheld. He was a squirrel. His name was Kevin.
I heard you need a DNA sample.
I want to find light and joy in things that bring us together and unite us. And I think science is something that can unite us. Ow. God damn.
There's a world out there, a world that needs to be beheld.
Behold, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Survival of the Filthiest. I'm your host, Natalia Reagan. I'm a biological anthropologist, comedian, and I created the show because honestly, what the futz is happening in this country? Seriously, folks. Every day is just another burning trash heap. Folks, we have a war on healthcare, people of color, gays, bays, jetways, veterans, queers, engineers, the vax, paperbacks, teachers, creatures, women, and science, especially vitally important fields like disease ecology. Yeah, that seems like something we really should keep funded. So what better way to resist than to talk to scientists, comedians, and educators who are creating some good trouble to move this country forward rather than 5,876 steps back. And here's a quick reminder to please like, subscribe, and put your questions into the comments if you have any. And if you want to support this illustrious production, you can join my Patreon. Every little bit helps and counts, and we're hoping to turn this into a podcast and to clip up the show more so you can share these clips with friends and family rather than an hour-long episode. And today I'm very excited because I'm talking to a good friend who I met on the interwebs, like you do, and he's also a disease ecologist. So what exactly is disease ecology? Well, I'm going to read it off because I feel like it's better than me trying to paraphrase sometimes. And this is the beautiful Jake Shurba, Masters of Science and disease ecologist. And what exactly is disease ecology? It studies how pathogens, including bacteria, viruses, and parasites, interact with their host environment and how they are able to colonize new hosts, sometimes becoming more or potentially less pathogenic. Environmental factors, including degradation of habitat, are also studied as part of disease ecology, since changes to the environment may alter how pathogens and their hosts respond to each other. And some of these things that can affect disease ecology and disease transmission are climate change, human encroachment and growing populations, land usage, loss of biodiversity. Essentially, humans play a big role in modern day wildlife disease ecology. And this is something we really need to understand and be accountable for. And let's see. Oh, yeah. So here we have kind of like the circle of disease ecology. So where diseases may have their source, whether in some cases it's bats, and then mosquitoes bite the bats, and those mosquitoes bite humans, and then those mosquitoes go on and bite other animals, and we have, just a beautiful circle and cycle of disease transmission. And this is why we had actually a guest on a few months ago, Neil Vora, who talked about viral spillover in different wildlife. So this is something very important in disease ecology. And our guest actually looked at the effects of or looked at bacterial growth in wood, various types of wood shavings. We'll get to it when we talk to him, and how it might affect the egg breeding or the breeding of wood ducks and their eggs. So really interesting stuff, and how we can use disease ecology to better inform conservation. He also now looks at forever chemicals, PFAS, these chemicals that basically can come from all different sources. Hold on one second. This is live entertainment because I'm going to pull up my notes because I can't see it. Where are you? Hold on one second. Oh no. There we go. Hold on. I love live entertainment, folks. So PFAS, I always say this acronym wrong. This is how you can tell I'm slightly dyslexic. You can get them from, the Teflon on your pans, from microwaving popcorn bags, fire retardants and foams, personal care products, things that we use every day, cosmetics, pesticides, even photography parts are responsible for these forever chemicals. Stain resistant furniture, fast food containers, things of this sort can be contributing factors in these forever chemicals. And then hold on, folks, this is where I get to Go back where okay, there we go. Next slide. And what happens when how can we be exposed to these chemicals? Well, we can breathe them in some cases. If it's things that are being released into the air, we can drink them in our ground or in our water because they can seep into groundwater. They can be distributed in wastewater and so on and so forth. Okay, and then here is just this is the nonstick pan circle of life. I love this because it's something that we don't even think about, right? Like the nonstick pan, I got them in my kitchen and it's disgusting. That poor thing probably should be thrown away, but it's something that, when they're being made, it gets released into the air and it can get into ground water. When it's at home, it can be released into the air. When we throw it out, it can be released in a landfill and then get into the soil. And then this eventually can get into the food that different herbivores eat or the water that different fish eat. And then animals eat those fish and the circle of life continues. And we get these forever chemicals in our bodies. And they can have thyroid damage, kidney damage, all sorts of damage to humans, but also to wildlife too. And our guest has studied all sorts of different animals, including ducks. This is not a duck he studied. I'm going to give a shout out to Cornell because this is a sad duck sitting on a tire. But he did study wood ducks. He studied the hooded merganser. I didn't even know this was a thing, folks. Can we just take a moment to behold this, the resplendent crown of this hooded merganser? I'm telling, like, who is their hairstylist? And then we have the black belly whistling ducks or the whistling pixies, thanks to our producer Peter who came up with that band name. But they are beautiful ducks, and so we're going to talk to Jake about the research he's doing about all these different waterfowl and how these forever chemicals are affecting them. And Jake Shurba is an amazing science communicator aside from being a disease ecologist. You can find him on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We became friends on TikTok and we actually did a live together in which it was about being queer in STEM because he is also a queer man in STEM, loud and proud. And we actually got shut down on TikTok because censorship is fun. I got kicked off of TikTok for hate speech for talking about being queer in STEM. But we're going to talk to him about his science communication journey and the importance of being out in the field, being out and proud and queer in STEM, and how wildlife biology can be more supportive and show more allyship to our queer biologists and ecologists. And I identify as one, as a pansexual lady. But it's really awesome that there's now an out in the field section in the Wildlife Society. So that is a start. And I am so thrilled. And now I get to do a little, I'm going to read a bio about the lovely Jake Shurba. Jake is a PhD student at Clemson University with the James C. Kennedy Waterfowl and Wetlands Conservation Center, studying the impacts of toxins and other pollutants on waterfowl. His background is as a disease ecologist, and he looks forward to intertwining disease ecology, exotoxicology research related to waterfowl in the southeastern United States. And according to me, I think he's an amazing science communicator. And I loved watching his lives, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. He made disease ecology digestible for anyone. He also made his lab work look fun. He used to do these lives doing his lab work. And so I highly recommend following him. So internet, please. I forgot to mention. He also loves to talk about diseases, dead things, and ducks. Folks, this is going to be a great episode. Bring your questions. And people of the internet, please welcome Jake Shurba. Hi.
Hi, my friend. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my
Great
God.
reminder that we got kicked off live. I forgot about that.
I know.
I
Well, it was so
totally
funny.
forgot about that.
I looked up your YouTube and I was like, oh my God, we did that live. And it was going well. We were having a great time. And then it was like, you've been kicked off for hate speech. It's like- that's when you know that the moderators aren't really moderating, right?
Right. Well, the funny thing is that's not the first time that's happened to me either. It happened with
When did it?
another queer friend of mine and I. We were talking on live
No.
and we both got booted off and temporarily banned. I think we got a 7-day ban on TikTok Live for hate speech.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, see, it's bonkers. It's like I'm sure their algorithm is looking for certain words and phrases and being like, got him. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I first saw your lives, I just thought you were so charming and you broke down what you were doing so well to people that might not ever give a darn about disease ecology or even know what it is. So I want to know your story. I want to know how the heck did you get into science, especially disease ecology? Take us back.
Yeah. Oh, so we're going far back. So I, for the longest time, since childhood, I wanted to be a vet. That was always kind of the dream. Loved working with animals. I was homeschooled, so I started at a really young age volunteering at a local wildlife rehab center, where that kind of helped grow that love for animals and talking about animals and educating the public about those animals. When I got to college, though, I realized what sort of coursework was required in order to pursue and succeed in vet school. And after getting my ass beat in, I think it was organic chemistry, I just was like, I'm done. Um, I don't have the energy it takes to try and succeed in this right now. Um, but because I was doing that, I had that idea for so long. It was kind of a couple of years of like, oh, what am I going to do now? Like this was
Yeah.
when you're, I don't know, I feel like a lot of careers in science aren't known to many people. And it wasn't until I was doing some more work at the rehab center and I was working with one of the interns and I heard him say that he was in a wildlife biology program. And hearing that, unless you're from a family who actively hunts and you are maybe someone who has interacted with game wardens or wildlife biologists while in the field, it's not a field that is really out there.
Yeah.
So I heard about the program, started looking more into it, got accepted to University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, where I started my bachelor's in wildlife biology. And it's a still to this day, it's one of the best wildlife programs in the country. It's incredible. The school is incredible. The faculty are amazing. Um, and one of the things that they really push for incoming students is you need to do research. If you want to do wildlife biology, you should at least try it and see if you like it. And if you don't, then there's plenty of other jobs in the field that don't require having to come up with an experimental design for something. But you should try it. And so I started looking at faculty websites to see. It's a really small state school, so it's pretty easy to get in touch with faculty. And I came across she would end up becoming my undergraduate advisor. And in her bio, her research interests were simply diseases and dead things, which is where two of those D's that you mentioned earlier come from. Um, and so I started working with her and immediately fell in love with research. And not just that, but with disease ecology as well. There's something really fascinating about organisms that can outcompete in the body, but also get past the best security system that we know, which is the body and all the
Yeah.
different things that we have in place for that. And that was fascinating. Um, so I got to do some work with her. Ended up publishing some work with her that I did for my undergraduate research. Uh, and working with her really set the stage for what I was going to do for the rest of my career.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and so did you grow up in Wisconsin? Was that
I did not. I'm originally from Illinois. So
okay.
I was born and raised just outside of Chicago. Um, Went to school in Wisconsin and then got sick of the cold and moved south
Yes,
for
yeah.
my first job. And that job was a technician position working in the field on a pilot study to essentially look at wood duck nest boxes and see if these nest boxes are being used, first of all, but then also looking at things like habitat selection around the boxes. Why are wood ducks choosing this box over this box that's maybe 100 meters away that looks really similar? Um, and that pilot study is what ended up turning into my master's program, which I pursued at Clemson.
Oh, that is so awesome. And I love that your undergrad really did push putting together a research project because even it, like you said, even if you don't go into that, at least you'll understand how one works,
Yes.
what a good one is and what a bad one is, because
Mhm.
I think that will help you go far in science in whatever avenue you choose. And I also think that's why the show I wanted to do this is because I want people to be able to know that science doesn't necessarily mean going into, and just doing teaching, or there's only one way to do animal science, and that's becoming a vet. I mean, there's so many different fields that are vitally important. And what was interesting when you were telling me about the wood shaving project was, the applications, like the fact that you discovered essentially that the wood shavings did not, the variation didn't affect bacterial growth, and therefore they didn't have
Yeah.
to be picky, right? And so they
Right.
could, yeah, use whatever shavings
Yeah.
they wanted. Yeah,
You want your studies to have some sort of really good management implication.
yeah.
There should be something that comes from it that is useful for others, and that was definitely an end goal with my master's project for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. And when you went, she went south. What was it
Mhm.
like? I mean, and we're kind of, at this point, I don't mind if you don't mind me, asking, were you out at that point as a queer
Uh,
man?
no, I was not. I
So
was
going
not.
south, that must have been, yeah, difficult.
Y- yes, but not really. Only because a lot of the places I was living they're college towns, so they're very open and accepting. And so even if I had been out at that point, it would have been it's pretty easy to kind of get settled in.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's really, I mean, hold on one second. I just got a note from my producer. Let me just make sure one thing. Forgive me, audience at home. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to see if I can do this. I just changed my settings. No. Oh no. Did it end it? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
No, I'm
Oh
still recording.
no.
I'm still recording.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So can we just go live immediately again?
We're live.
Oh, we are. Oh, it just told me it
Yes.
started. Okay, good. Never mind. Wow, I love that live entertainment, folks. Great. No, I got a note that my video was very grainy and it did it last week, so I just tried a little method to make it not be that way. No, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, being in a college town versus being in a small town, small southern town is probably a world of difference, I can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very different. I would say the biggest thing that took some getting used to is just the culture shock of being in the South. It is, especially coming from just outside of Chicago, like it's a very different pace in the South. Things move a little slower, as well as being in college towns with these big, Southern schools. Football. I did not care about
Yes.
football. I did not care about college football prior to moving south.
That's
But then
really
people hear
funny.
Clemson, and that's the first thing, because at that point it was like Trevor Lawrence was like a great one of the best quarterbacks at Clemson. So there were these Clemson was playing really well. So when people heard Clemson, that's all they wanted to talk about was football. So I had to become conversational on football, and that was kind of a big change for me.
I mean, it is. You're acclimating, you're becoming, you're assimilating to the culture,
Yes,
Gotta know that, you
exactly.
gotta know that, like, I know Clemson, the only way I know about Clemson, I think, is I mean, knowing that you go there, and I know some scientists that work there, but my first introduction was football. And I
Yeah.
know nothing about football other than there's a ball and they kick it and they throw it sometimes, and there's
Yes.
wide receivers and things.
Yeah. Things.
Yeah.
There's guys on a field that run back and forth.
They do, and sometimes they tap each other in a,
Yeah.
affectionate way. I do like that. I
Mhm.
think that is, it's a good showing. Male on male affectionate,
Yes.
contact is something I love. Uh, but so you after doing the wood shavings, project, you moved on, and that's when you went into PhD program, and now you've kind of moved on to forever chemicals.
Yeah, so I actually started a PhD right after my master's. Um, And I don't think I ever really talked about it too much on social, but I left my PhD program. Um, it was just not a good fit. The projects themselves were not quite what I had been expecting, and my advisor and I were not seeing eye to eye on stuff, and so it was a hard decision, but it ended up being significantly better. I left that program and then moved into a research scientist position for the last year and a half, and now I'm starting my PhD again in a program that I'm actually excited about.
But I think that's something we don't talk about too, and I'm proud of you for making that move because I think a lot of people, when you get into a PhD program, there's so much pressure to just stay
Mhm.
and write it out, even though the fit is wrong, maybe the advisor is not right, or the like you said, the projects weren't what you wanted, and
Yeah,
so good for you for doing
yeah,
that.
it worked out. It worked out well, and it was the right
Yeah,
move in the end. But there
yeah,
there is a stigma about leaving programs like that, and it is, if it's better for your mental health, then that is the correct move to make.
right.
You're not going to be happy doing it.
No,
No
no,
point.
no, 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 no.
5 years of your life is a long time to spend doing something that you hate doing.
Oh my lord, yes, that really is. I can think of many things that I've done that I was like, This isn't just." But you almost think you're so deep that you're like, "Ah, might as
Yes.
well quit." But that's really good of you to do that. And so, what kind of position is this? A different position from the wood shaving job? What,
Yes. The research scientist position.
yes. Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So I moved on to University of Georgia for that research scientist position. I That position just ended actually, and so that was studying avian influenza and working with an avian influenza laboratory.
Oh goodness, and that's been a kind of a hot button topic. So, can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about, your thoughts on avian flu even now? Is it still something that we should be concerned about or any
Yeah.
warnings for folks?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's still here. It's a pathogen that's always around, and we get that split where we can talk about high pathogenic avian influenza and low pathogenic avian influenza. And the low path, it's always around. It's here. It's most birds. When you look at if you look at their antibody titers, they've had or come into contact with low path at some point. Um, High pathogenic is where things start to get a little stickier. And there was an original outbreak in 1997, or an emergence of this particular strain of high path, which was seen to be doing some pretty good amount of damage on bird populations. At that point, it was only really seen to be in birds, and in particular, we were looking at things like waterfowl, shorebirds like plovers, things like that, maybe the occasional raptor or bird of prey of some kind. In 2021 into 2022, we had a new uh, clade, a new uh, s- uh, subtype of this high path virus that was detected in the Midwest in 2022. And since then, we've been seeing significantly more species that are coming into contact with the virus, as well as just carrying antibodies to the pathogen. So they've seen it at some point. And it affects some animals more than others. We've been seeing it in things, the usual suspects, waterfowl, shorebirds, but then more raptors. And in
Wow.
birds of prey in particular, we've been seeing some pretty severe clinical signs where they don't handle the virus very well. Um, and in particular, one of the biggest issues right now is bald eagles. We've been seeing a
Oh,
lot of bald eagles that are coming into contact with this virus, and it's doing some pretty significant damage. Not to like a population level. We're scared, but we're seeing more bald eagles than usual that are coming down because of this.
yeah. What is the mortality
Mammals.
rate? Oh, sorry.
Mammals as well, we're starting to
Okay.
see. So a lot of scavenging species, things like raccoons and skunks. But in particular, that was in 2024. It jumped over from birds into cattle, dairy cattle. And so that has been of particular concern from the human health side of things. People who work in these dairy farms or poultry farms as well, and uh, a lot of times that creates more of a risk for human cases of avian influenza, which as of right now, I jotted it down. As of late 2024, the CDC and USDA have concluded 67 human cases of this H5N1 high pathogenic avian influenza. And when they narrowed it down, 40 of those had come into contact with some form of dairy cattle. And so
Wow.
it's a dairy cattle right now are kind of the hot button issue.
Yeah. This makes me want to be vegan. I mean, I'm already kind of vegan adjacent already, but like
Yeah.
that's scary. I mean, that the fact that it's made the leap from,
Mhm.
birds to mammals, and mammals, obviously, we are one,
Yeah.
and here
Yes.
we are. What is the mortality rate for, say, like a bald eagle or birds with the high what is the term again that you said there was a
Yeah. Low
um
pathogenic and high
low high
pathogenic.
pathogenic? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's been a published mortality rate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I'm not sure if
That's
there's been a
okay.
published mortality rate. Yeah.
I was
There's
in
more
the
so just like little papers that kind of come out here and there that are documenting instances of raptors coming down with high path.
I mean, that's the thing I think, I talk about this a lot, that science, it's constantly gathering more data. So, because it's tough because people want these hard numbers and it's like, well, we don't have them because it's everything is still emerging. We're still
Yes.
figuring it out. And you don't want to, because sometimes it's tough if, we learned this in COVID. If you speak too soon and then something changes the next day, the
Yeah.
public all of a sudden shuts down because they don't understand that unlike religion, science is constantly
Yes.
changing as we get, more info. When I
Yeah.
was in the Galapagos last year, I remember there was, oh god, one of the islands, I think it was Los Lobos, we were supposed to go to see blue-footed boobies nesting, and I was so excited. And we didn't realize this, but they had just lifted, like a week before, lifted the ban on tourists going there. And we could have
Yeah.
gone, but they still thought it was banned because of potential bird flu,
Mhm.
and so we did not
Yeah.
go. But, that was scary to hear just because,
Yeah.
you want an island system like the Galapagos that is so remote, and all these
Yes.
birds. And that was another question I had, was just the migrate, we mentioned waterfowl and seabirds. Is this because they're would the migratory factor be a big factor of why we're seeing it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And there are studies that have been published at this point where you can almost track for this, at least with this most recent subtype from 2022, you can track the movement coming in from the Alaska and the
Wow.
Pacific Northwest down into the Midwest, down into the South, and they're following these migratory paths. So yes, absolutely. Migration plays a very huge role in the spread of pathogens.
God, it makes me think of COVID again, like, globalization of humans. We move around, things that, and even like population size. We look at early humans, most likely little diseases might have flared up, but they just burn up in a small population versus,
Yeah.
when we got societies like we have now, they can mutate, they can change, they can keep on going.
Yes. Yes.
This is why disease ecology is important, folks.
Yes. Yes. Diseases are here and they're real and sometimes treatable depending on which disease we're talking about. It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah.
They are here.
They are here, and to pretend that they're not is, I would say, a bad idea. It's a bad
Yes.
idea. Yeah, and, now you're sort of pivoting for your PhD work and looking at these forever chemicals. I,
I know.
you know, did my best with my, limited PowerPoint situation, but
Yeah.
if you could kinda, give us a definition of what these forever chemicals are, or at least a little snippet.
Yeah, honestly, I thought you killed it with your intro. I mean,
Oh,
these are chemicals that are that have been developed to be very hardy in the environment. They don't break down easily. They're things that are they're able to survive in water, in soil, in people or animals. These are they're very hard to get rid of, which is where they get that name of forever chemical. Um, and yeah, this is very new for me too. I don't have a lot of toxicology background, but this was such an interesting topic. And a lot of my work is, I'm not an analytical chemist. Let's just throw that out there right away. And so that
Noted.
side of PFAS is not where I will be. I'm going to be looking at how these chemicals might be impacting waterfowl health as a whole. And we'll be doing that in a number of ways. But another thing too that we're looking at is one of what we've found and what's kind of been documented in the literature too is some of the notable suspects of releasing PFAS are military installations, and
Oh.
primarily that's through their flame retardants and the foams that they use to get rid of fires. And so we are going to also be looking at the concentrations of PFAS from these military installations and trying to see if we can track the movement of these chemicals to nearby natural areas like national wildlife refuges or
Wow.
private land.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and by the way, I think I called it PFAS because I'm that much of adult of not knowing about.
There's
I'm
like
definitely not.
I've heard so many different ways of people saying the acronym or like it's yeah.
Well, it's like when I lived in New York, the Long Island Railroad, they call it the LIRR, and I kept calling it the Lear, and people were like, "No, Natalia, you moron!" And I was like, "I'm sorry, I thought spelling it out took longer." Anyways, but no, I was gonna say here in Los Angeles, we just had, the worst wildfires we've had in
Yeah.
history, and they use that foam, and I remember people were very happy because they specifically used it in the Palisades fire, which is
Yeah.
right near the Pacific Ocean. It is right on the
Yeah.
coast, and so we also are having seeing an uptick in domoic acid poisoning in different wildlife, but it'll be interesting to see, unfortunately, the long-term effects of these PFAS chemicals on the marine life.
Yes.
Wow. So what exactly is your study looking at? Is it the forever chemicals in these waterfowl?
Yes. So we'll be doing this through a number of ways. Some of it is just live capturing these birds, which, if you've never been out in the field to capture ducks, it's a rodeo. We use these things called rocket nets, where you set up a bait site and you let the bait sit for a couple of weeks just so that the birds get comfortable with it. They're used to seeing what's around there. And you have a net, giant net that is attached to small rockets. Use a little bit of black powder and you set the charge and it will explode and the rockets will throw the net over a big flock of birds. And from there, you're able to go in and actually just capture what you need. It
Do
is
you
a
need an
blast.
assistant? I was like,
Yeah.
can
Girl,
I
come in the
help?
field. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Yes.
I will
Please
bring
come in the
my
field.
waders. I have
Yeah, absolutely. Please come in the
That
field.
sounds like so much fun. And what particular waterfowl are you looking at right now? Is there a specific species for the study?
Yeah, initially, we're going to be focusing just on wood ducks. That's I've spent a number of years at this point working with that species. They're very easy to work with. They're one of South Carolina's most populous species of ducks, so they're really easy to find. But so, hi, sorry, we have a visitor.
Oh,
Um,
oh, wow. That is beautiful. Hello. Hello,
yes,
handsome.
hi, girl. Um,
Oh.
so we'll be catching the ducks themselves, but we're also going to be working with hunters too. Whenever you hunt ducks, you bring your harvested ducks to a check station where a game warden could just check to make sure that you have the correct limits and you haven't shot more ducks than you are supposed to in a day. And most hunters are really willing to work with students in particular, so we'll collect some samples from them, and we'll be looking at things like their tissues, blood, um, and feces from
Okay. Does
these
Ember
birds.
ever field assist? I feel like she would be an excellent duck
She is
hunter,
such a
little mother ducker.
princess. She wants nothing to do with the outside. The amount of
Really?
times that she wants nothing to do with it. I've let her out a couple of times. I used to have her on like a harness because I wanted to. You see on TikTok all these
Yeah.
people with their adventure cats. The minute I set her down every single time, she'll explore for a second, but the minute that there is a bird call that's too loud or a street noise, she is haul Aspen back to the house. She wants nothing to do with it.
Wow. Oh my
Hmm.
god, she's the anti-cat. Okay,
She
that's
would not
fine.
survive on her own
That's
outside.
yeah. That is when you're like, "Okay, that is a fully domesticated cat," right?
Yes,
Like, that's
exactly.
you are not feral.
Yes.
Wow. So yeah, she's not going to be your field assistant, although I
No.
am thinking of applying.
Yes.
Wow, okay, and so these wood ducks, they hunt are wood duck I mean, they're so beautiful. I
Oh,
didn't realize how
Aren't they?
do they eat wood ducks? Or yeah, call me I'm not a big duck person, but do
oh
they?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Wood duck is
Oh, yeah.
very is a great tastes great.
Okay,
Hmm.
cool. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I used to have pet ducks, eons ago. I had,
Yeah.
George and Melissa, and then George, killed every last one of his kids. I know. That was a real wake-up call as a six-year-old kid, I was just like, "What happened to the" Yeah, yeah, and I named them
Yeah.
after Three's Company characters because old, it was like Larry, Chrissy, and Janet all got killed by George. Yeah, but that's wild. Okay, and so is the best way to get data from is it from tissues or does it matter? I mean, can you get, uh,
At,
the PFAS
at
maybe
this
markers
point,
or Mhm.
all of those three different samples are have been documented methods of being able to determine concentrations of PFAS from individual species.
Wow, and how
So
much?
it's not a lot,
Okay,
not a lot.
okay,
It's you'd probably take for blood, you'd probably take about a 2 milliliters of blood. It doesn't take much.
yeah. Oh, no, how
Which
much
makes the
PFAS?
oh, how much PFAS? Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay, no, 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 it's
I don't know because nothing's ever been
Oh, it's not
documented
been
so
done yet.
far.
It's
Yeah,
this is
nothing's
new.
ever been documented for North American waterfowl. I know. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
but in Europe, there have been similar
There's been
studies?
some stuff in Europe. There has been some stuff in Australia in particular. Australia has put out a pretty good amount of PFAS research, as well as Asia, Japan in particular. Japan and South Korea have
Okay.
published a pretty good amount of studies on PFAS in their natural environments.
And ho what kind of, is it are they ailments that are they seeing ailments associated with the PFAS like we're seeing with humans? Oh, no, they're just
Not
living
really.
with some
Yeah, it's just kind
yeah?
of there. There are some that have couple one of the studies was looking at penguins in Australia, which I'm really jealous of. I would love to be
Oh,
doing
man.
penguins. I love
Yeah.
ducks, but I would kill to be doing some penguin work. But they're seeing some issues with their it's affecting their red blood cells.
Okay.
Or just their blood cells in particular. So there's been a decreased white cell counts
Mhm.
that have come as a result of this of PFAS being in these birds, which can impact their immune system then and their ability to fight
Yeah,
infection from other pathogens. So that's kind
which
of
is
what we want to
scary.
look at. Yeah, we want to look
Okay.
at things like that. The other kind of cool thing too that we're hoping to do is, or that we will be doing, is actually capturing ducks um, from those nest boxes, similar to what I used during my master's. But we want to look at PFAS concentrations in eggs as well to see if
Wow.
these chemicals are being passed down from mother to young through the egg.
Yeah, that's pretty tricky. I mean,
A little
yeah, I
scary.
wonder, like and if there's a buildup, I wonder if at any point is there
Yeah.
more of a higher concentration of these chemicals? Because I know that,
Yeah.
in humans, it can affect reproductive,
Hmm.
organs, so I'm just wondering at a certain point, comparatively, if there's more of these chemicals in humans or waterfall I mean, I'm sure it's gonna vary across multiple
Yeah.
bird species and humans in different locations.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do you I mean, and if you don't know off the top of your head, there's no reason why I would expect you to, but are there areas where humans have more forever chemicals in them than others? I would assume closer to
Yeah.
is it
Closer to industrial areas or locations that are actively using these chemicals, or the chemicals are kind of being dumped and they're leaching into groundwater. So if you have a well or you're not using filtered
Ah,
water and you're near an industrial area, there's a good chance that that folks who are living in those locations are going to be having higher concentrations of PFAS in their systems.
God.
I'm not a
What's your
medical doctor too. We should also maybe preface by saying that as well. I'm not a medical doctor.
Not Dr. Jake Shurba. Don't worry,
Yes,
I'm also
exactly.
not Dr. People call me Dr. Reagan all the time because they think I have a PhD, and I'm like, nope, not even. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not even like, a PhD doctor. That's my, yeah, but yeah, not doctor. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be
Mhm.
a doctor soon enough. Soon enough.
Soon. Soon.
Soon. Then when you're on a
Ex-
plane, when somebody says, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" You're gonna get up and tell them everything they need to know about ducks.
I want that microphone. I'll take it out of the stewardess's hand or the flight attendant's hand. Yeah,
Sir, he's having a
it's a
heart
captive
attack.
audience.
Did
It's a
you
captive
know?
audience.
What is your favorite fact about ducks?
Mm. They have a curlicue penis.
They
Males.
do. Corkscrew.
It's
Yep.
weird. They have a corkscrew penis. It's the weirdest thing.
And
We
they're
used to have
long.
to. They're long. They're
They're very
long.
long.
They're uncomfortably long, depending on the species. Uh, Black-bellied whistling ducks, in particular, there's no sexual dimorphism, which we saw with the other two species. There's a clear difference
Yes.
between the male and the female in terms of their plumage colors. Black-bellied whistling ducks don't have that, and so in order to tell what you are looking at, you have to flip them upside down and just kind of pop that cloaca open. And
Mhm.
if something flings out at you that isn't poop, uh,
Ah!
it's very clearly a male,
Do
and
you
it's
just wear an eye
uncomfortably
patch just
large.
in case? Yeah. Oh,
Oh, I've gotten duck poop in my eyes like a handful of times at this point. It's Ducks are gross, Natalia. They are
there's
revolting animals, but I love them so much.
oh, this show's called Survival of the Filthiest. This show is
Yeah,
perfect for ducks. Oh my
exactly.
god, they fit the bill.
They do.
Hey.
Ah!
Hey! Oh my god, it's terrible. Yeah, no, this is a terrible story. So I do stand up, and you know this. I do a
Mhm.
story. It's a true story. How my friend had a pet duck named Diego, and his wife's lady duck's friend's name was Frida, and her mom had a bunch of chickens, and she named them all like southern names, and I think I changed the name of the duck to protect the identity of the humans, but anyways, or the chicken. But basically Diego had a fallen out with Frida, the missus, and walked on down to the hen house, and took a liking to one of the chickens. We'll call her Tammy Lynn.
Uh-huh.
And Diego had his way with Tammy Lynn, and in that moment we realized that ducks may have a corkscrew shaped baloney pony, but chickens do not
No,
have a corkscrew shaped VJFK. And Diego screwed.
they do not.
Tammy lived to death. She actually was killed by Diego, and it's a
Yeah,
terrible story, but it's a story with with a a moral, which is you got to keep your ducks and your chickens apart.
exactly. You will probably find this interesting. I don't know if crosses the line
No, bring it.
for this one. Ducks have been mallards in particular have been documented performing necrophilia on dead ducks. I don't
You
know if you've
know,
seen that at all. It's
I have not.
something. They're gross. They're foul animals. Foul.
Oh my god, don't say anything if you want it, honey. Wow. Wow. Those ducks, mother
Mother
duckers.
duckers. Mother
Seriously.
duckers.
I called the geese the dicks of the animal kingdom and the swans the assholes, but now they're just the dead fuckers. Like they
Uh-huh.
just ducks just wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Kelly K Fresh Fraser, aka K Fresh Detroit Fit, the bill. Ha ha. I love Kelly. Hi Kelly. Yeah, Kelly, you're not a mother ducker. You're much better than that. Wow, that is wild.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, ducks are I mean, I remember I would when I had George and Melissa the ducks, I would grab a baby, because I was a kid and I just get very excited, and Melissa would chase me around the yard. We had
Mhm.
a pool as a kid, and I would just run, I don't even like 40 laps because I was afraid to stop and put the chicken or chick down because I was afraid she would attack me and
Isn't it
peck me
funny
to
how
death.
scary such a small animal can be so terrifying at certain points? Even as
Terrifying.
like I'm a grown ass man, and I've had little songbirds kind of dive bomb my head if I get too close to their baby. And that moment of freak out is like you're a tiny little animal, and you are causing me a lot of fear at times.
I mean, we think about like snakes taking, a little snake, like a little asp or, or a death adder, taking down a person. And it's like,
Yeah.
we think we're all, look at me, I'm big. It's like, nope. No, 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 no.
Uh-huh.
Um, hold on one sec. I'm looking at my notes because I could talk about duck dicks for duck
Oh
dongs
yeah.
all day long. And by
Yeah.
the way, it's not just I know like some species don't have a corkscrew shaped baloney pony, right? Or
Correct.
is it yeah,
Most of them do, but yes, there are some that have a normal.
cloaca
Yeah.
or or do they have a ween that's not
They have a non-corkscrew ween. I can't think of what species, but there are a few, but it is a primary feature of most ducks.
we do not care about them. They are
No,
not
they're
of
not. They're
interest.
not as interesting. They're not as interesting. If you
I
don't have a
know.
corkscrew dick, I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here, duck. Oh my god. No, if you don't need a wine opener if you
No.
got a duck on hand. You got
I
one.
saw one on Etsy that is it's a wooden duck, and right where the cloaca is, that's where they attach the corkscrew. And I
I
want
love
one.
I
I
need
want one.
okay, well, I know what to get you. Your birthday is
Yeah,
coming up. Your
it
birthday,
is.
and if I can't get you a duck dong, I'm a bad friend.
It's the
Oh
next
my
best
goodness.
thing.
It is the next best thing. Now, I also know you love to talk about dead things. I mean, we just talked
Damn.
about what people do to dead things, but is there a dead thing story that comes to mind that you
Oh,
love?
yeah. It's not necessarily gross, but that's how I learned anatomy when I was
Yeah.
vertebrate anatomy when I was first kind of getting started. When I was volunteering at the rehab center, they had a full-time veterinarian on staff, Dr. Jen. She was incredible.
Oh,
She is incredible. But I had a lot of opportunities to volunteer with her directly. That was back when I thought I wanted to go to vet school still. But on slow days, she'd take stuff out of the freezer and we would sit and necropsy things. And she taught me at this point everything I still know about basic vertebrate anatomy because we went through turtles, birds, snakes, a bunch of mammals. Like we would sit and just necropsy and she'd point out what everything was. We'd look for causes of disease and pathology. And
wow.
so it was something that really helped kind of again shape my interest in diseases was getting to do things like that.
What was the co I mean, that to me is fascinating because I had a hard time doing, any sort of dissection, but at the same time, I saw the value in it, It was one of those
Yeah,
things where I get it, like, I was vegetarian, but I also was like, "This is important, we need to do this," but it was just hard because I get all,
yeah,
attached.
uh-huh.
But I also think it's so cool, right? Like,
Hmm.
and what was
Yeah,
was there a disease that you were able to see or, like, the manifestation of something that was like, "Wow."
yeah. Parasites are probably one of the best things to look for in a necropsy because they're everywhere. It's really hard
Ah!
to find just an organ or a part of the body that does not have a parasite in it of some kind. I have videos from my first attempt at a PhD was doing a lot of necropsies because we were a parasitology lab. So looking
Ah,
for parasites in freshly euthanized animals was a big part of what we did. And I have videos of jars, this big, full of liquid with like you can't see the liquid. It's so full of nematodes, the long little wormy
oh,
guys.
yeah.
It's just jam packed with them, so you can't see the liquid. You can't see the other side of the jar. Um,
Wow.
so that's one of the best ones I think are just parasites in general.
And parasites I find fascinating as well because I don't know, especially when you see the ones that infect insects and
Hmm.
you see them come out and you're like, "How did you fit in that bee or that wasp or the whatever, the
Yes.
spider?" I don't understand. It is bonkers, and I mean, wow. And what animal did you see the most parasites in?
Birds.
Mhm.
Yeah, birds for sure. And honestly, ducks, waterfowl.
Ha!
Um, Ducks have their
Yes, ducks.
intestines are just chock full of tapeworms, nematodes. They're they're gross. They're
They're
gross.
gross. Oh my god, that's crazy. Wow, I don't know. I that's something I would be I don't know. I just think it's fascinating. And they
Yeah.
live with them. They're just, they
Yeah.
kind of coexist with,
Hmm.
it's like
Exactly.
that coexist bumper sticker needs a nematode on it. That's what it needs.
Just
If
shapes
it
of
was
different kinds of parasites.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Hold on, let me see. I'm going back to my notes because I could
Yeah.
talk to you all day long about oh wait, we talked about ducks, we talked about dead things, we did talk about
Mhm.
diseases, we talked about PFAS.
Mhm.
But we haven't talked much about your amazing science communication. And how did you like what made you decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna try this TikTok thing. I want to give it a shot.
COVID. 'Cause I was
A
in the
disease.
middle, yeah, a disease. I was in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, Georgia and Florida for all of my field work during my master's. And, it's the middle of COVID, everything's closed. You can't really go talk to people. So I was really hesitant to actually join TikTok. I think everyone went through the stages of denial with just like, this isn't Vine. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. And then maybe like you watch a couple videos and it's like, okay, well, that's kind of funny, I guess. And then you transition into, well, shit, like if I want to save something, I have to make an account. So I guess I'll make an account. Um, and yeah, I was in the middle of my field season. I was doing some kind of cool stuff in the field and figured I'd just start kind of throwing things out there and see what happened. Um, and it took off more than I thought it would because who cares? Like who cares about ducks besides maybe a handful of people? Um,
I do.
but yeah, but people were really interested, and I do think it's because that wildlife biology is such a cool field. I love my job.
Yeah.
We get paid crap, but like I would not choose to do anything else. And so getting to share my field online and really shine some light on the fact that this is a field that you can pursue, and there are jobs. There's not many and they don't pay great, but there are jobs that allow you to work with some of the coolest species on the planet. And um so I'm glad that it took off the way that it did, because it's been really great. I feel like it has made me appreciate my field more too. Just seeing how many people are actually interested in hearing about the work.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I loved we would do the lab work, which can be tedious, right? I mean,
Yeah.
lab work is, and it's easier to film lab work than I think field work in many cases, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to go out and I don't, were you in swampland in Florida? Were you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
I was on a boat though, so that made it a little bit easier to be able
okay.
to. I wasn't actively like trumping through the marsh. I
Yeah.
was doing that in Georgia though, and so it was harder to film things in Georgia when I was in the field
Yeah.
compared to just kind of making a cool video later with a recording I took.
Yeah. Oh my god, good for you though. It's great to be able to get out there and do it. I know that when I was doing field work, it was 2010, so it was, early days
Mhm.
of I mean, the internet, of course, was around. I had a YouTube channel, but I remember, I wish I could have done things like that because, chasing monkeys on horseback was, I mean, I
Crazy.
posted. It was crazy. I posted some videos in 2022 when I went back, but it's so much fun to kind of to showcase that side of things, because I think if people knew that these jobs existed, albeit, they're not everywhere and they don't pay that well, unfortunately, but at the same time, they're so much fun. There's such a joy to being out in the wilderness and collecting data, and even you made the lab work look
Mhm.
fun, you explained what you were doing, you would take
Yeah.
questions. Did you build a
That
big
was
following? Yeah.
that was started mostly so that I'd stay off my phone while I was working. Because I would sometimes go live even when I was just sitting and working, because I was off my phone. My phone was like kind of on the corner of my desk. Um, and it was early on enough to where there wasn't a ton of people. And I even still to this day, I don't think I've had like a booming live, which I prefer.
Yeah.
Maybe once I had one where it was like a constant stream of questions, which was really fun, and it was great because people were active and they were interested and asking really good questions. But it did kind of make me appreciate the, like 10, 15 people, couple of the usual suspects. Even
Yeah.
still now, if I don't go live as much as I used to, but when I do, there's 4 or 5 people who still kind of pop in that were the usual suspects when I was actively doing it during my masters.
Oh,
And so
that's
it's kind of
fun.
fun to see some people pop up again.
Yeah. I know I did a few that would I did one that was like 4 hours long, and it was not
Yeah.
intentional. It was just because somebody from my elementary school found me and was like, "Let's go live together." And I was like
Yeah.
I was so tired. It was great. I enjoyed it, but it was one of those
Mhm.
things where it was yeah, and it was like maybe 10, 15 people at the
Mhm.
most, or maybe 100 when it starts, and then they see that you're
Yeah.
not doing something like I mean, I don't know. Some of them I get really excited for because they're either the drag queens doing the makeup that
Yes.
just,
Yes.
like, mesmerized. But I
Yep.
don't know. I still think it's nice to have those, connections with people with the science that you're doing, really
Yeah.
humanizing who you are
Mhm.
and what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
that was one good thing. There's not many, but that was one good thing about being on TikTok during COVID too, was there were so many scientists that were
yeah.
on the app. Um, there was so many people, and everyone kind of formed. Like I've a handful of friends now that I've just made, yourself, I mean yourself included, who we've made friends just
Yeah.
because we're trying to do this weird thing on this dumb little app, and I've made a lot of great friends, and it was really always fun being able to go live with people. Those were the most fun lives where you were able to connect prior, 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
prior, do a couple hour long live. It's so much fun.
Yeah, because it's like a conversation but at the same time, you do get the aspect of questions that
Yeah.
you and I might not think are all that we might not think of because we know it's something that we do and we know, but it's actually something that the layperson is like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna know the actual process of becoming a PhD student," or, "What
Yeah.
does it take to become get a master's or, find a research project or a mentor,
Yeah.
that's actually a question I have for you too is about mentorship. I mean, have
Mhm.
you found, in your journey that has been very important to you, like finding the right, either academic advisor or mentor that
Yes,
fits you?
absolutely. Yes. And that started pretty early on in school too. Just I made that connection with my undergrad advisor really early on. And I was a transfer student. I had crappy grades. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she kind of just took me in and showed me what the field was like and how to do
Oh,
research and how to be a scientist. Um, I I have um, I've made some really great I have some really great mentors as a result of being in this field. And I got to do some when I was in graduate school. That was one of my favorite parts, was getting to work with undergrads. I love teaching undergrads. And so I'm excited to go back and start doing that a bit more. I haven't had an opportunity to teach as much in my current position. So I'm very excited to continue doing things like that during my PhD.
oh, what classes were you teaching?
I was working, one of my committee members had me as a TA for the last year of my master's. I taught wildlife habitat management, which was really fun. It was very field based. So we had students in the field pretty much every week for lab, took them on field trips. They had to write a management plan. It's an excellent course and prepares students really well for just being a wildlife biologist. We taught wildlife damage management, which
Oh,
is looking at
yeah.
things like animals at airports, how to prevent animals from flying into planes, how to get them off the runways, and even just little things like, there's a deer eating shit out of my garbage can. How do I get rid of them? So things like that.
Yeah,
It can be as simple as that, or to, you've got a handful of geese on a tarmac that they need to go really
yeah.
fast before these planes start coming in. And then I also taught professor and I had a chance to kind of rewrite and revamp a conservation policy course, which was an excellent class. That was really fun.
Oh, that's really cool. Wow, I wanna take one of your classes.
It was fun. You should.
That's
You should.
that sounds like something that needs to be done. Um,
I
God,
would
yeah,
do
what is
that a little bit when I was writing my lectures. I taught a couple of lectures for each of those
mhm.
classes, and so I'd go live and I'd give my lecture. And
Oh,
so that was
that's
a really
really
fun way
smart.
to that was a fun way to kind of work out the kinks, but then also take
Yeah.
questions from people.
Wow, would you have the PowerPoint up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
tried that. I will talk because I was like, I tried to share my screen or like at least, or try to incorporate because I would love to do something like that because I miss teaching. Like that was one of the
Yeah.
fun things, and I made a lot of because of COVID, a lot of my lectures are online because,
Yeah.
they were recorded. I did the Zoom recording
hmm
and with the PowerPoint and then back I don't know if you knew me back then, but I in 2020 I had pet chickens. I had Carol and Jeanette. So I
Oh
would
yeah.
include
Okay.
them in the beginning of the lives or the
Yeah.
beginning of the lectures. And the students were just like, "What is that? Who is this weirdo?" Well, what's next for your psychom journey? What would you like to see you get into next?
Yeah. I'm hoping to I want to be posting more just on TikTok. It's been a
Yeah.
little while, and I think part of the reason why I stopped for a little bit too is it was uh we weren't sure if TikTok was going to be banned.
Right?
So I wasn't posting very much because I was like, what's the point if this is going to go
Yeah.
away in 2 weeks? Um, but I'm toying with doing some more. I've seen a handful of scientists doing like a journal club sort of videos where they take a paper, review it, and talk through things. And so I'm wanting to do some more stuff like that with disease ecology. Um, there's one guy, he's a veterinary pathologist. I'm blanking on his name, but he does like a weekly journal club where he goes through a case study paper and talks through like the pathology and the clinical science and everything. So I think it'd be really neat to start doing some more stuff like that. I think scientific literacy is a really important issue right now. And
Yeah.
so being able to talk through how to read and interpret scientific data is of the utmost importance. So I'm hoping to do some more content with that.
Oh, I like that because I think I mean, we're seeing a lot of people, of course, quoting articles that don't have any, no peer reviewed to
Yes.
back it up, right? And, even the peer review or the stuff that is sort of being passed off as peer reviewed or even, like, misinterpreting peer
Mhm.
reviewed articles is a big problem. So I think anything to kinda help people understand what they're getting their hands on,
Yeah.
hold on one second, I have let's see, my unfinished chemi, uh, journey, says, "Tell us about the daffiest duck you've ever worked with."
Happy dog.
The daffiest do you know Daffy Duck?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I
think
wasn't sure,
there's
I was
not
like, "You're young."
no, no, I know yeah, I know Daffy Duck. Um, Daffyest Duck. Trying to think. Probably something like a ringneck duck, or
A ringneck duck.
maybe a scaup would be
What's
a
a
good one.
scop?
Scaup, scaup. These
I'm gonna
dark black birds with a little ring around their necks, or the ringneck ducks in particular. But
I'm looking oh my god, they're so cute.
yeah, that's probably the
I don't
daffiest duck if we're talking about just like
like, can I just
color and
folks at
yeah,
home, that is a
uh-huh.
scop.
Little
This is my
bluebills.
version of throwing it up on the screen. Yeah. What was the other one that you said? The ring-necked oh, wait, the ring-necked
Ringneck
duck.
duck.
Oh, that is daffy that is weird looking.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that
one's
is
probably more daffy than this,
ooh, ooh, look at that
but
head. That
yeah,
kinda reminds me of the hooded, merganza.
yeah, yeah,
Merganser, excuse me.
merganser. Gotta say it with a
Merganser.
twang, a merganser.
Gotta say it. Mergan How do you like living in the South?
I love it.
Yeah?
Honestly, I've really enjoyed living in the South. I have no plans to return to the Midwest or to the North.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy living down here.
That's so nice. And I want to talk a little bit about, the advancements made for, queer folks in STEM,
Yeah.
and that now there's the new out in the field section in the Wildlife Society. How do
Yeah.
you
So
feel?
they've been around. Oh gosh, I can't remember when Out in the Field first started. Um, I first heard about them at a conference. I was at a conference, and um, they were promoting it in the conference booklet for a social hour for LGBTQ plus wildlife scientists. And I was pretty recently out at that point, and so I was just kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. That seems a little scary. I don't know if I want to do that. Um, I went, and it is it was such a pleasant surprise how many people were there. And they keep those socials. They have bigger socials for everyone, for allies included, people who want to just come be supportive. But a lot of their socials are just for members of the LGBTQ plus community. And so there are actively, usually once every 2 or 3 months, there's a virtual social if there's no conferences active. So we're all able to get on Zoom and talk and hang out with each other.
That's great.
And so excuse me, it's really special to see how many people are queer in this field and are um, willing to just come together and support each other.
No, that makes me so happy because I know that even in primatology, there's a lot of queer folk in primatology, and the whole biological anthropology has a whole section that in a meetup, and it's been very popular for at least the past decade, and I think that's so important to not only have the community but also really promote allyship and how even in things like when we talk about homosexuality in the animal kingdom, you know what I mean? How
Yeah.
many scientists have tried to explain the gay away of
Uh-huh.
of ducks, for instance, right? Or other, seagulls or
Yep.
albatross, do you have actually a favorite gay animal, by the way, a favorite gay animal, if you were to pick one?
I don't actually think I do.
That's okay. They can all
I
be your
don't think I
favorite.
do. Yeah. Yeah. Let's say that. I don't, yeah, not off the top of my head. I don't think I've ever actually thought about it.
Well, I'm here to make you think about
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
it. Real quick, I
Doing your
got let's
civic duty.
exactly. I got to spread the Gainimal love. My unfinished journey says, "Oh, and hail Natalia and Jake, woohoo!" And a little one of these. And my unfinished sock says, "Don't over amorize a chicken. Like and share the stream instead. Thank you very much." And my unfinished coming journey says, "Hail Natalia and Jake. Has Natalia ever considered collaborating with Dapper Dinosaur?" I'm down to collaborate with anybody. I don't know Dapper
I
Dinosaur,
don't know Dapper
but
Dinosaur.
I don't, but I'm down to be dapper with Dinosaur. I love a good dinosaur. Like should we look them up? Let's see. Dapper Dinosaur.
Yeah, I'm
Dapper
looking right
Dinosaur, if you're
I
now.
watching,
I'm
I
friends
would like
with
to I
Dapper. I
would
could set that up.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do a little a Dapper Dinosaur duo.
Sure.
We can talk about the dinosaur Dookie dungeon or the cloaca of dinosaurs because I would love to do that. Did you find them? Let's see.
Are you on their
Oh, I
page?
see. I'm looking at I
Yeah,
don't
this
know.
channel is for science-related videos focused on debunking the scientific claims of creationism.
Okay, well that's good. Here we go. I like this picture of a dapper
Wow.
dinosaur with a nice little
That
top
Uh-huh.
hat.
that
Yeah.
that is
Almost looks like a
Dapper.
bowler. Mhm.
That is Dapper Dinosaur.
That is
Yes.
great. I'm so glad. I've always
Okay.
wanted to collaborate with a dinosaur. I'm feeling like a dinosaur these days, every year, just a little bit closer to the Cretaceous. That's how I feel. It's good times. Just keeping it real. Uh, everything creaks a bit more. That's fun.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I do like to talk about how birds are basically the little house dinosaurs, really,
Yeah,
essentially. When I had the chickens, yeah,
absolutely.
ducks
Absolutely.
especially. I feel like,
Hmm.
yeah.
A
Have you
lot of
been?
birds.
They can be quite terrifying. What is the most terrified you've ever been of a bird?
Ooh, two stories. One
Yeah.
was I was in the field doing some crane work, sandhill cranes, which
Yes.
are about 5 feet tall,
Oh God.
um,
I'm already scared.
astronomically just they are so good in the marsh. They are capable of just kind of tromping through the mud. Meanwhile, you're stuck to your waist in, knee deep mud and water. And I've had a sandhill crane run me, and
What?
that was horrifying. Seeing this 5 foot tall man-sized bird run at you with a knife on its face is it gets the heart pumping. It gets the heart rate going. That was
How did that
terrifying.
end?
Yelling really, really loud and it scaring itself off. And I yelled, I didn't scream. I yelled. It's a very
Manly
manly
yell.
yell, manly yell.
Get away from me, Crane.
Yes, yes. It wasn't
Oh
at
my.
all a higher pitched shriek.
Not at all. Not even a
No, no. And then so some of my one I have some background in falconry as well, doing a lot of
Of course you do.
educational work with falconry. So bringing birds out on a glove, talking about the bird to members of the public. And I was working an internship at um, where they had bald eagles. Now, I don't like bald eagles, just in general. Controversial take. I don't like bald eagles. I think they're overrated. They are scavenging kleptoparasites, so they just kind of steal whatever.
Oh.
But I walked into an enclosure to feed a bald eagle, and this girl did not like men, we found out very quickly because she leapt off her perch, talons out towards my head, and had to again do a little bit of a and try to dodge and work my way out of the enclosure.
Oh
Didn't
my.
get nicked on that one. I'm a little surprised, but that was a little terrifying having a 15-pound bird that's all weapons flying at your head.
And it's weird to think that they're only like my dog. I have a pug and she weighs how much are you? 16 pounds, right?
Yeah,
But like, she'll gum you to like only 15 pounds, but I would be terrified.
yeah, uh-huh.
Oh my God. What was
Yeah.
her name?
What that bird's I don't
It's
remember. I
that's
think I
I
have
would
it
have
blocked
blocked it out
out.
too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I have it blocked out. I want
Yeah,
nothing
I
to
would
do with that anymore.
yeah. Stupid bird. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
birds are terrifying. I love them, but I'm also like absolutely, I know my the chickens, my lord. I mean, I called Jeanette the ruthless assassin because she would I had to wrestle multiple mice out of her throat because
Oh
she
my
would try to
gosh.
I caught her. I mean, she did swallow one, but then the others would get like they were too big and I'd be like and they were dead, but still I would be like I don't want to give a chicken a Heimlich maneuver. I don't
Yeah.
imagine this will go well, right? And yeah, but I would be sitting on the couch and, out of nowhere she'd just be right there. And I'm like
Oh
I would
wow.
hear her. I mean, she would just jump up and yeah,
Yeah.
they were terrifying, terrifying creatures, but I love them so much, but bald
Yeah.
eagles, yeah, I didn't so when you said they're klepto, what did you refer to them? Parasitic klepto.
Scavenging kleptoparasite.
Okay, go
Mhm.
on. Meaning that they're
They
actually
they will hunt,
okay.
like most raptors, they will hunt for
Mhm.
their own food. But if the opportunity arises to steal said recently captured food from another animal or person, they will take that opportunity.
Dick
And
move.
dick move, yeah, so that they
Yeah.
don't have to do the hard work themselves. But they are scavengers too. I mean, you see them, especially in Alaska. You see them in places where there's just dumpsters everywhere, and they're just kind of picking through a dumpster, picking at whatever they can find.
God. Good to know, good to
Yeah,
know. Yeah. And they're our animal.
their
It
animal kind
seems
of feels dang.
feels fitting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
mhm,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for setting the record straight about eagles. I don't maybe that's Sam the eagle looks awfully peeved. Maybe it's because, he
Mhm.
knows that his time is uh fleeting. Fleeting.
Yes. Hmm.
Um So your partner is a fish guy. Your partner studies fish, right?
He does. I would say he studies fish. Um, However, he would argue vehemently with me
Oh.
that oysters, mussels, and crayfish are not actually fish.
Well, I mean, mollusks and crustaceans then? He studies.
Yeah, yeah, but he's fish. He studies fish.
That's
Trying to whisper so he
so
can't hear me.
funny
He's in
to
the
me.
next room.
Ah! Exactly. He loves some bivalves. He's into the
Yes,
bivalves. Yep.
he is very into the bivalves.
Wow. And crayfish though, I mean, I actually had a pet crayfish as a kid, as a child.
Have you eaten crayfish before?
I have. I have.
Did you like it?
I did.
Yeah,
I've been to crawfish, crayfish boils. What about
yeah.
you?
I have done. I have been very anti crustaceans. I don't love the taste of it. I will
Mhm.
say though, there is really nothing like a Louisiana crawfish boil.
Well, yeah.
There's just
I
something about it that just tastes. It's so good.
yeah.
But it does
My
reach a point where after, a handful of crayfish, it's like, "Ugh, I'm eating bugs and I can't do this anymore. This is a little much."
I just feel guilty. I do have I stopped eating meat when I was 16 because I loved animals, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I don't it's not a problem for me. I don't miss it or anything, except I do eat fish on occasion, including the crayfish, but I haven't in a
Mhm.
long time. But I do I fell in love with like Howie the crab, and I love,
Yeah.
I just I
Yeah.
love lobsters. I just think they're so fast, especially when they're old. I'm like, just let them live. Let them
Right.
be. But my mom is from Kentucky, but she went to school, or not, sorry, she went to school in Nashville, but she taught at Tulane University
Mm,
in the 70s. And so she spent a lot of time cooking, jambalaya, gumbo. We had instead of
mm.
doing like a turkey dinner for Christmas, we she makes gumbo. And
Ooh.
so I know it's so good. Oh,
Oh,
it's so
it's
good.
so good.
It's oh my yeah.
Louisiana is
So
the one place I've been, I think, for work where I don't think I've ever once had a bad meal in Louisiana, whether that be in the middle of nowhere or
right.
New Orleans. You feel like when you're on vacation, there's always one meal that's kind of like, "Ugh," like it was fine. I I've spent a pretty good amount of time in Louisiana. I've never once had a bad meal there. The food is
Noted.
so good.
It's so good. No, it's delicious, and I feel fortunate that my mom, that's like talk about yeah, because I would not fare well with a turkey dinner. I'm like, no, thank you. That's you yawn, boring. But yeah, so now that we've established that your partner does study fish, whether he likes it or not,
Yeah.
Twitter used to have all those feuds about bird versus fish people. Do you guys have a bird versus fish, sort of feud in your home?
I don't think we've ever really had a debate like that, but then again, there's not really much of a debate when, birds are top tier predators, so that are actively eating fish. So I feel like there's not much of a feud to have there.
Got it. Got it. Noted.
I might have
Note.
to ask him separately, but he might have a
Right,
different answer.
exactly.
Hmm.
Because I have seen those videos, and it always makes me so sad if a fish, like, is on the water and gets nabbed by or not a fish, but if a bird is on the water and gets nabbed by a fish, I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, it's not supposed to happen that way."
Yes. We used to see, because I was working with a lot of ducklings with my wood duck studies, and so we'd be
Oh,
there when the kiddos jump from the nest box. And there were a handful of times where you see, big old fish. I don't know what kind of fish it was. I don't care about fish,
they're dumb.
but a big
Like,
old fish swims up and just pops that kiddo down under the water, and it's gone.
"Oh, poor
It's
buddy."
weird. It's weird to see. I
I
don't like
know, it's
seeing
like,
fish succeed like that.
no. I love a little rivalry,
Yeah.
in a
Right.
relationship. It's cute. It's nice. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
together you're saving the world. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is it takes all types, to make sure
Yeah.
the damage that humans are doing doesn't take down everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Oh gosh. And speaking of that, how do you stay hopeful? I mean, in this challenging time, has your research, by the way, been affected by this administration at all?
Yes, the work that I was doing with avian influenza was impacted by that. I was on a lot of National Institute of Health money, and because
Mm,
of just lots of attacks to the NIH. That position, that's one of the main reasons why the position ended. I would say, as of right now, for my PhD, nothing is super impacted. A lot of the money that we're seeking is through the Department of Defense, and defense spending is seems to be pretty safe as of right now. So, as of right now, no issues there. Staying hopeful though, um, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard,
Yeah.
and I think what's been really helpful for me so far, I've never been a protest person. I was never someone who really went to protests or anything like that. um, I've been more active with that now in the last since the administration changed. And Athens is a pretty big city, but it's not giant by any means. It's not a huge location. To see the sheer number of people that come together at these protests is what makes things kind of hopeful. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who are not happy with the way things are right now. And I think seeing that has made things feel a little bit more hopeful in these kind of dark, gross, shitty times.
Yeah, I mean, there really is a comfort in knowing that you're not alone. In fact,
Yeah.
there's a lot of us that are,
Yes.
feeling the pain and want desperately to make change and aren't going to back down.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's different, I think, too, because it's easy as scientists to talk about it. We're a pretty niche group of people, and so it's pretty easy to assume that most scientists are not really happy with the way things are right now. So many of these people are just average Joes
Yeah.
that are scared and upset and want things to change. And so it's nice to kind of get out of the science bubble and see that everyone is feeling that, not everyone, but many people are feeling this way.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. I had a question because you mentioned that
Yeah,
the Department of Defense is funding this. Is that because the military is one of the chief um, emitters of the
that
PFAS?
is they are the ones who put forward the grant. It hasn't been approved yet, but they are the ones who are seeking grants specifically
That-
for PFAS on military installations. So it was they're seeking to fix it.
That's great. That's a great
Yeah.
sign of accountability and wanting
Yes.
to, yeah, enact some change. I like that. That
I
makes me
know.
hopeful.
I
You know?
know, right?
Yeah. Right.
It feels less like, I don't know. I think there was a when I was first applying for it, there was this sense of like, oh, like I don't really want to go toe to toe with the military. That's a
Hmm.
little, it's so easy when you have because you're submitting reports and you're submitting presentations to that have to be approved from this governing body, and so you don't want to you don't want to be doing things to damage your relationship by calling out the organization that is funding you.
Right.
But because
Yeah.
they're seeking to fix things, that yes, it makes things feel a lot more hopeful that it's not going to be a battle to get these data and get these results out.
Oh, good. That makes me happy. I don't know. That is a hopeful thing,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
honestly. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been amazing. I wish we could do this every week.
I know.
Yes.
Sure. Let's do it. I mean, we
Let's
can keep
do
talking for another couple
filth,
hours if you need to.
filthy ducks, right? Exactly. Yeah, feel free to tell me about some more filthy duck stuff. I'm all, oh yeah, what is the filthiest thing that you've ever done for science?
Ooh, yeah. Um, it would probably be alligator necropsies because there is so much happening and they're so large. I mean, a lot of these alligators that we were necropsying are, hundreds of pounds and 12 feet long alligators. And so there's no use in wearing gloves. You can wear them, but they're going to get filled because the amount of alligators that we were doing, I was elbow deep in alligators and they smell so bad. I have no sense of smell really at this point, just from doing this for so long.
Oh
It takes a
god.
lot to kind of make me feel queasy over a
Sweet.
necropsy.
Yeah.
Alligators smell awful. They're
Really?
so awful. Yes. Some of the coolest necropsies, and you find some cool stuff in them.
Like
Um,
what? Tell me. I wanna know.
shoes.
Oh my god, like, wait, did you ever find a croc and an alligator?
No. Mm-mm.
Ah!
No, but I bet someone has. I bet someone has, but no, not where we were. Um,
Was this in
license
Florida?
plates too.
Wait, what?
Hmm. Yeah, a couple license plates we found. That was in
A
South.
couple!
Those were
How
alligators from
big
South
was this?
Carolina and Alabama is where we were doing those
Were the
alligator.
plates South Carolina and Alabama plates, or were they different states? Because that would
The,
be really
the one plate was an Alabama plate. The From the
okay, in
alligator we did
Alabama.
it in
Okay.
Alabama. Yeah, the other plate was it was so eroded and like you couldn't really see where that one was from. The stomach acids had just really done the trick on him.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, a
Wow.
couple
That's
shoes. That was like you kind of hope that there weren't legs attached to those, but
I know,
there were
I
just
was
a couple
like, "Oh."
shoes.
Women's
Um,
shoes? High-heeled sneakers? What are we talking about?
they
Nikes?
were
Jordans? Converse?
Crocs. Funny enough, actually.
I
So
wish I
yes, we did find a croc
wait,
in a croc.
you did get a croc?
We did find a croc in a croc. I forgot a croc and an alligator. I forgot about that. Yeah. Uh huh.
That's nuts.
Uh huh.
I've always okay, so
Well,
alligators do eat
they look
crocs.
so
Hey.
chewy. Like they look like they'd be fun to chew on.
Yeah,
So
they're like
you
yeah.
can't blame them.
No, 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 I would yeah, that would oh, goodness gracious. Well, I mean, it's did you see that video, by the way, of the alligator and the croc on the sidewalk battling it out?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
in
Isn't that
Florida?
crazy?
It's
They're so
wild.
cool. I love alligators.
Me
They've
too.
been one of my favorite species moving south because we don't get them back up in
No.
Illinois. Like that's not a thing. So getting to see them regularly is really just it's such a treat because they're just the coolest little animals. I've never seen a crocodile. The times I've been down in the Keys, I've been a couple of times for just a camping trip. We never saw crocodiles, but crocodiles they're a different kind of dinosaur. They're a little scary.
They're aggressive. I
Oh,
worked in,
scary.
Panama
Mm,
and, Costa Rica. One of my favorite times in Costa Rica, I had just done primate field school, and I oh, yeah, I'd stayed a few extra days to go to Manuel Antonio, which is on the Pacific Coast, and
okay.
I was driving with, like, a tour, driver, but I was the only one in the van. I was the only one that rented it out, and he kept taking breaks, and I realized he just wants to smoke, but he was like, "Oh, this is a beautiful vista." He was smoking. He goes, "Go up on that bridge and look over. The view is great." And I was like, "Okay," and I'm walking up on the bridge, and I look, and the view was like okay, it wasn't anything spectacular, by the way, the bridge, it only went up to, like, my thighs, like, it was not a very high railing, and then I look down and I see what I think is a giant crocodile statue that is, like, sand colored, and then it moves,
Ooh.
and then, like,
They're so
4
scary.
others come to the surface and they're all because they're caked in mud. And I have this I'll have to show it to you. I'll send it to you. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful photograph and it looks like almost like M.C. Escher, the
Yeah.
artist. Like it's got this kind of weird sort of angular thing where they're all kind of angling in a certain way
Yeah.
and it just looked really beautiful. But I think that was the view he was talking about and it turns out that the locals there will throw chickens off the edge to feed them but
Yep.
they were they were so large. And then when I did field work, we would cross we were right near the Ria Oria, which is like this river that all the monkeys, basically all the little quebradas, all the little ravines and creeks that came off of this river were too steep for the landowners to cut down. And that's where the monkeys were.
Okay.
So we'd have to cross the river at different points. And it would go up to our waist or like our thighs. And I was like, I don't really want to cross it if they're crocodiles. I was very adverse and my guide was he's wonderful. I love him. He was like, they're fine. They're up he'd always tell them they're upstream. And I'm like, they can swim downstream. Because they would either be at the mangroves at the where like the brackish water where the ocean and the river meet, or they were
Mhm.
upstream. They were never in this one area, according to him. And then I went back like 3 months later, and they're on the bank sunning itself with a
Uh-huh.
crocodile, and I was like, ah.
Right. You
But
lied to
as
me. You lied to
yeah,
me.
as I'd walked, I had because I'm missing a muscle in my leg because of an accident. I'm a bit. I called myself the Jack Tripper of primatology. I fall a lot, and so I had this walking stick, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that this would have done nothing but piss them off. But I would just stab the water as I'd walk across it. I was so stupid. But yes, I love crocodiles, but I am rightfully a little terrified.
Yes. When I first moved to South Carolina, we were doing active field work on the coast of South Carolina in
Mhm.
areas, this big giant lake that had a very large population of alligators. And there were oftentimes a lot of points where we kind of just had to park the boat, throw on some waders, and walk to some of these nest boxes. And I was told by my boss when we started, it's not if, but when you step on an alligator in a lot of these areas. And so it's just you kind of just muscle through and they're not going to do anything to you. And sure enough, a lot of these alligators, if you're not on a golf course, these alligators want nothing to do with you and they will be
Really?
gone long before you even see them. But sure, I did step on an alligator once pretty early on. And it was kind of towards the rear of the alligator because I stepped on its tail and then it smacked me with its tail as it swam away. And so I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. I can handle that.
Wow.
That's not too bad.
But they never just they haven't had any okay. And why
Yeah.
so why
Well,
golf courses? Are they
because people feed them on
oh,
any
that's
sort of golf
oh,
course, or if it's like a community that has ponds, they probably have alligators, and chances are really good that people are feeding them. I will say though, alligator attacks on people
mhm,
are very
rare.
rare. There's
Yeah,
not many of them, maybe one or two that pop up every single year. So for the amount of alligators that are on these locations where people are feeding them, attacks are very uncommon, and so there is some sense of like, okay, that's not
relief.
too bad. Like
Yeah.
there's not many attacks. If it happens, that's like you're a statistic at that point if that
Yeah,
happens because
you're an
that's
outlier.
crazy. Yes.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, I remember years ago, I during COVID, it was right when COVID started. I was dating someone whose family lived on oh god, what island is it? Is it Kiowa
Kiowa
Island?
Island,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh,
yeah.
yeah.
And they're lovely. They're absolutely lovely. But there was a woman that was, I guess, visiting a family on the island, and she decided to go say hi to the alligators. It didn't it's
Mm,
one of those stories where it's comical, like, and I feel like I don't know this woman. I didn't know this woman, but it just seems like she's the kind of person that probably would have laughed about this only because of how it happened, but she went in,
yeah.
I guess, to touch it. I don't know, and then she
Mm.
got grabbed, and they got her out or, like, got her away enough, and she's like, "That was close," and then he got her again, and
Oh
then it
my
was I
gosh.
would it's one of those stories that to this day, I kind of curl up in a ball, and I'm like, I can't you can't whoo,
Stop
wee,
touching
yeah,
wildlife. Stop touching
don't
wildlife.
yes, yes, the
Don't do
moral of
it.
this story is, like, see how we're both people that work with wildlife, and we want nothing to do, like, near we don't wanna get close to them,
Yeah.
we wanna touch them, we don't wanna step on them, we don't want yeah, don't do
Mm-mm.
it. It doesn't go well
No,
for God,
I
yeah.
loved seeing, and it's not funny, but it kind of is. National Park Service, after a little bit, started
Oh,
just posting videos of people getting tossed by bison. Like the only way that like maybe we can shame people into stopping doing this
or scare
stupid
them,
stuff or scaring them. Like it's
scare them, yeah.
it's not funny to get tossed by a bison. It looks really funny on video, but you can get hurt. You can
Right?
die.
No, I
Stop
mean,
stop messing with wildlife.
it is I've dealt with this before. I've worked at places before where I've had to really drive home the point that like, I've worked with primates and like for instance, one of my pictures when I was doing field work, we had a former pet spider monkey that was at a it was like a resort. It was like a beach resort, but
Sure.
this guy bought her. She was a pet. This guy bought her and wanted her to like roam his beachfront resort. And I was like, "Oh my god," because it's a
Mm,
female spider monkey, fully grown, beautiful, but completely habituated to humans, so didn't have any qualms with about grabbing your food, grabbing your stuff, taking it, semi brachiating off, slapping you with the tail. Her name was
mhm.
Cantinflas, named after the Mexican actor too. She was so beautiful, but I remember I went to go visit because they were trying to figure out what to do with her because she was screwing with the patrons, and they're like,
Yeah.
"We don't want her here anymore." And he wanted to like get rid of her. Like that was kind of like the words. And and we were like, "Okay." And so we go there, and the man who had been working with her was like, introducing me because at this point she's in a giant enclosure. And she like reaches out and grabs my hand. And spider monkeys are unique that they don't have thumbs. They actually have like little hook hands because they're semi
Oh,
brachiators. They have a very recessed thumb. Yeah. So it's like little hook hands. And she
yeah.
grabs my hand, and I'm just kind of like terrified. And there's pictures, my guide's taking pictures, and I'm just like staring like, "Ee," And there's another picture where she puts both of her hands on my shoulder, kind of like she's like giving me like a little, and my face, I'm smiling, but like I also have that sort of fear, like
Slight panic.
yeah. And then the next picture, she jumped on me and she shat on my shoulder, not sat. She could have shat, but I don't think
I
she
feel
did.
like that would be a monkey thing to, or a primate thing to do. It's just, yeah.
All the time. I got shit on
Hmm.
multiple times. Not because they, like, threw it at me, it's just they just positioned their ass over me and let it rip.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
called getting baptized, by the way, in primatology. Yeah, yeah, you're welcome, I'm sorry. But anyway,
Oh
so
my God.
she jumps on me and she sits there, and, like, thank goodness, like, she was fine, but, like, that's I have to explain to different, like, sanctuaries and places, like, unfortunately, pictures with wildlife, that's why I stopped using that photo because it sends the wrong impression. Even though I'll tell
Yeah.
the story about how she terrified me and I'm not happy in this picture and this and that. It's like they just see cute monkey and they're like, I want a pet monkey. And and
Mhm.
you've spent time in Florida, people will get the darndest pets. And it's really bad for the wildlife trade, because
Yes.
people will, to get one pet monkey, you'll kill six in the wild because they just want the
Right.
baby, and the family will, like any family, fight to keep it safe. But anyways, point
Yeah.
being, don't touch the wild.
Please. Please stop.
Yeah, especially monkeys in Florida. You can get the herpes B.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. No thanks.
No
Do
thanks.
primates scare you? Like, are there any primates that genuinely scare you that you would never want to interact with?
I mean,
Primates freak me
chimpanzees.
out. Like,
Yeah.
I have never had any urge to work with primates.
So I've worked with several species in that were former pets or former film industry, and so I had to be kind of hands-on with them because, or when you feed them or you're in the enclosure, they will touch you. And
Yeah.
macaques are scary in terms of just they're very smart and they're pretty aggressive sometimes.
Mm.
Macaques are the second most widely distributed primate in the world, humans being the first.
Hmm.
And they're really good. They're very good generalists, meaning they can eat and survive. Like they could survive in any environment. They're the ones that live in
Yeah.
the temple monkeys, the cities. They can
Sure.
the hot
Yeah.
tub monkeys. But yeah, they can be a little squirrely. Squirrel monkeys too. Also, squirrel monkeys can be they're just
Mm.
smaller and kind of like all over the place. But capuchins, I love capuchins very much. Just be careful because that's why like they're trained to be helper monkeys and stuff. And a lot of primatologists frown on that because it's not the best life for them,
Sure.
and they can be aggressive with humans in some cases because they're still monkeys, right?
Yeah.
Um, they're even like looking at changing terms like wild versus free ranging because, like,
Oh.
what makes, yeah, like being in captivity versus, like just the terminology and rephrasing and reframing it. But yeah, I mean, chimpanzees too. I mean, they're very strong and they can be very
Mm.
aggressive. That's why you shouldn't have them as pets.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, what about you? Are there any? I mean, it sounds like cranes are kind of high up on your list of, and eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still work with those animals though. I have very minimal interest in working with large predators.
Hmm.
Um for a few reasons, mostly because they they kind of scare the crap out of me.
Ah.
Large predators like that, I, there's just too much that can happen. They kind of make me nervous. Also, just from a policy standpoint, I have friends who are wolf biologists who
Oh, wow.
actively get death threats from people, from hunters or from ranchers, because there's this idea that wolves are detrimental to
Yeah.
everything, depending on who you ask. But so I know people who actively get death threats from people because they study wolves and they're working to reintroduce wolves or managing wolf populations. Um, I have no interest working with deer. I never have. I don't give a shit about deer. I don't care. They're the most generalist fucking
Ah.
species on the planet when it comes to, cervids. They can live anywhere, survive anything. They're just disease-ridden rats with hooves. I want nothing to do with them.
Ah! Oh my
That's not a
god, that's really
fear.
funny.
I have no
Yeah,
fear of deer. I just hate them so much.
that's okay. You don't give a buck about deers.
Exactly. Yes.
Ay. No,
Uh,
well, I get it. I mean, there's certain animals that, yeah, that they're just not your jam, and it sounds like,
mhm.
yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I would work with all monkeys and apes. I
Mhm.
would. I just don't want to be like, I don't want to be put into like a cage with one. You know what I mean? Of some,
Sure.
some I could
Yeah.
handle more than others. Like, would you want to be in a cage match with a chimp? No, no. Would you want to
Mm.
arm wrestle a chimp? Absolutely not. But yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, deer for sure. I feel like their population is fine. I have friends that work with wolves, and I know what you mean. Like they've dealt with a lot of backlash that way. And my friends that
Yes.
work with P22, the mountain lion, that,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but P22 was beloved
Yeah.
here. But I know that like people that do panther projects in Florida run into that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Saltwater crocodiles. Love them. Think they're
Hmm.
amazing. Don't want to work
Yes.
with them. Don't want to work with
Exactly.
them.
I have a healthy respect for them. I like to see them from a distance.
I would love that is like, wow. Yes. I want to know who researches them. Now I need to look that up. I don't know any saltwater crocodile researchers. Are there? Do they
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to know.
Thomas Rainwater. You should check him out. It's like coolest last name ever.
My
He's
friend is
a
a rainwater. I have a
Oh
Chris
really?
Rainwater. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Thomas Rainwater
Thomas.
is a crocodilian expert at Clemson, and he's done a bunch of crocodilian research. He's
I
cool.
want to know him. Okay.
He's
Yeah,
super
because
cool.
I love reptiles. They just like we were talking, they terrify me. And so I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's like I do you ever do the game? Who would you like what would you rather like dive with? And I'm like saltwater crocodiles or great white sharks, and it's always
Yeah. A
great
shark.
white sharks. It's always.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crocs. Yeah. I don't want to come face to face with that.
No. No, no, no.
Have you
Even in
seen
Africa.
those things in Australia where you can put on like the snorkel and dive suit and they put you in a cylindrical tank and they
Yes.
drop you into the middle of a salt. I feel like I would love to try that. No, at the
I
same
s-
time, I
I
like a
still
really thick layer of glass between me and that croc.
so big, so big. Such
Yeah.
a thick, like a yeah, no, no, that's like I could just see, Los Angeles woman tried out Australian thing and died. Very disturbing.
Hard snaps on the
Yeah.
human tank.
Oh my God. Well, at least it's an interesting way to go, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I,
Yes.
let's keep it fun,
Great story,
right?
if nothing else.
Exactly. I've heard some stories about crocodile deaths, and I mean, woo, yee,
Mhm.
ah, mm,
Yeah, they're
yeah,
vicious.
they
It's a little
really,
scary.
yeah, and like even like the hierarchy of, and like, because I'd love to talk to a crocodile person just to see if is it really true, like the whole, in terms of like there's the South, the crocodiles of the Americas, or like
Yeah.
here when it comes to aggressiveness, then Nile, and then the saltwater crocodiles.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if Australian, because I don't know enough to really weigh in on Australian versus saltwater crocodile. I feel like both of those are I just don't
Yeah.
wanna get near them. I guess
Right.
all Australian crocodile saltwater I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
of questions. I'm asking a lot of questions here that
So we should talk later because I do have some contact info, maybe that,
good.
and some people that would probably
Folks
just
at
love
home,
to come chat with
yes,
you.
I'm very excited. This has
Yeah.
been this has been a lot of fun. See, we need to do
Yes,
more of this. We'll talk
I
more
agree.
about all the animals we do and do not want to be in a cage fight with.
Yes.
I
That
do
could be an episode
remember
in and of itself, honestly.
well, okay, so I should have asked my friend. I talked to her this morning. I'm so frustrated. Rupa, if you're watching, I don't think she is. She's off in New York, but she's a wonderful. She's an ER doctor for Doctors Without Borders, saving
Mm,
children around the world. But
wow.
we were in Mexico for her birthday a few years ago, and our group of friends, the question we were asking each other was, "What would you rather fight?" Oh God, hold on. One One horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses
Yeah, I've
was the
seen that.
question going
Yeah,
around, and it was the silliest question, and, we all agreed that the horse-sized duck was the worst, like, we were like, "Oh, the horse-sized duck, no, without question,"
yeah,
because that
yeah, yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you. I feel
yeah,
like a bunch of duck-sized horses you can boot a little easier.
I know, I just be like, "Okay,
In
let my
the
Tai Bo
yeah,
skills kinda go
right.
Yeah. Wait, but yeah, because they can't fly. That's the other thing is the duck can fly. That's also
Hmm.
terrifying. I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like
a horse-sized duck flying at you. That'd be a
Oh,
little much.
no, it's almost as bad as that eagle that came for your
I
head.
know, right?
Rude.
Yeah.
No, I don't like that one bit. Okay. Well, folks, we went on a journey today. This was a
Talk about
good
everything.
we talked about duck dongs, we talked about necropsies of alligators and
Mhm,
nematodes and crayfish and what would you rather dive with? This was good. This was a
mhm.
lot of all the forever chemicals.
Yeah,
Oh my god, seriously. Finally, like, something that really does last forever.
right. Mhm.
In the worst way.
For better or
Well,
worse, yeah.
where
Or
can folks
worse, yeah.
find you?
Yeah, I am primarily on TikTok at Jake the Disease Ecologist. That is probably the best place social media wise to find me. I recently started a YouTube under the same profile name, Jake the Disease Ecologist. I have maybe two videos posted on there that
Follow
are not the
him.
best editing, but yeah, take a follow. I'm wanting to start doing some more long form content, but it'll just kind of depend on how much time I have to dedicate towards it. But those are
Well,
the two
thank you.
places to find me.
Yeah. And I love all your videos are great. I love that you are, when you do the lives, they're so much fun. So please, folks, follow Jake. And Jake, thank you so much for, doing what you can to keep this waterfowl safe
Thank you. Thank you
and
for having
forever.
me. It was really
Of
great to hang out with
course.
you.
I know. And hopefully I'll be seeing you in person soon, hopefully in a few months.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Please let me
So
know.
I will absolutely let you know. Yeah, no, thank you so much. So, we'll have you back on to give us an update about what's going on
Yeah.
with the PFAS and the waterfowl,
Excellent.
a bunch of party fowls.
Yeah. Can't
Terrible,
wait.
terrible. Yeah,
Terrible.
can't wait. Those mother duckers. So thank you, Jake. And I want to thank my producer, Peter DeTucker. You make everything. I always call him Dr. Peter DeTucker. I always throw in a doctor. He has a bird too. So we should shout out to Boss the Bird, who's
Mhm.
also helping produce this stream. And here's a quick reminder for everyone to like, subscribe, comment, ask a question, because I can always pass questions on to Jake later if you're watching this stream after the live. So please do that. And if you want to support this illustrious production of this show, you can join my Patreon, and I'm going to thank my Patreons in 1 second. So I'm very excited to have a wonderful team of people that have helped make this possible. So Patreons, here it goes. This is for you. Daniel Wynn, Claude Allen, Simply Tom, Skullbeard, Tori Yates Orr, Redding Maley. I'm going to be seeing you in a couple days. Dana Logan, Michael Z. Weinstock. We'll always have the Galapagos. David Leitner. We'll also have the Galapagos too. James Hudspeth. See you at the burn. Anthony Zana, Tom Berman, Jen Beverstock, Scott Froschauer, JSB, Jeff Cohen, Andrea Bloom, Jonathan Marks, Kelly Frazier, Michael Clanton, and PJ Shapiro. Thank you for increasing your wonderful Patreon amount this week. I noticed, and I'm so thankful. And folks, until next time. Oh, yeah, by the way, we don't have a guest lined up for next week because I like to keep you on your toes, or I just haven't done it yet. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It's going to happen. Don't worry. It's coming soon. And it'll probably be on Wednesday. So until then, folks, keep loving those mother duckers and stay filthy.